and welcome to the July 27th, 2026 meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit Board of Directors. For the record, tonight we have 3 alternates attending. Director Rodriguez for Director Kennedy, Director Leary for Director Rohrbaugh, and Director Lopez-Taff for Director Schaefer. Tabitha, would you please take the roll?
Director Brewer.
Here.
Director Budge.
Here.
Director Dickinson is absent. Director Hume. Here. Director Jennings is absent. Director Rodriguez.
Here.
Director Maple is absent. Director Leary.
Here.
Director Lopez-Taff.
Here.
Director Cerna is absent, and Chair Singh-Allen.
Here.
With that, we have a quorum of 6 votes, and this meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District, a quorum was 7 votes. And this meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District is recorded with closed captioning. The recording will be cablecast on Metro Channel 14, the local government affairs channel, on the Comcast and DirecTV UVerse cable systems. The recording will also be video streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays Friday, July 31st at 2 p.m. and Sunday, August 2nd at 2 p.m. on Metro Cable Channel 14. Once posted, the recording of this meeting can be viewed on demand at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14. Public comment may be given on any agenda item as it is called and will be limited by the chair for all participants, including those in person, on telephone, or on a virtual platform, to 2 minutes or less per speaker. The consent calendar, the general manager's report, and reports, ideas, and questions from directors and communication will each be treated and taken up as one unit. This means that individual comment cards for certain reports in each unit will not be accepted, and speakers are only allowed 2 minutes total. As an example, the consent calendar with agenda items 2.1 to 2.14 is treated as one unit, and speakers will be able to speak on the entire consent calendar or specific items on it for a total of 2 minutes. In-person public comment will be taken first, followed by those participating by Zoom or phone. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker card located at the rear of the room and provide it to myself or Adam. Once the item has been called, additional speaker cards will not be accepted. If you're participating by Zoom, raise your digital hand, and if you're participating by phone, press *9 when the agenda item you wish to comment on is called. When the clerk calls your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number, please unmute yourself to speak and voluntarily state your name for the record. All written public comment received has been provided to the board and is part of the record.
All right, thank you for that. Next up is our Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise if you are able. Would Director Budge please lead us this evening?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Next up is our consent calendar items 2.1 through 2.14. Tabitha, will you please read the correction to item 2.4?
Yes, the correction to item 2.4, First Amendment to the fiscal year 2027 capital budget. The total of the amended fiscal year 2027 capital budget amount under the result of recommended action should be $1,975,122,673, and Exhibit A of the resolution should read FY27 instead of FY26. The corrected staff report has been provided to the board. It's posted online, and there are some copies in the back of the room.
Excellent, thank you for that. Are there any director questions on consent calendar items? Looking to the right, seeing none. Looking to the left, seeing none. Now taking public comment on the consent calendar.
Okay, now taking public comment on the consent calendar. The consent calendar is treated and taken up as one unit. Individuals wishing to comment will be able to speak for up to 2 minutes. If participating by Zoom, please raise your hand, and if participating by phone, press *9 to comment on the consent calendar now. And in the room, we have Jean Lozano for item 2.6 and Helen O'Connell on 2.12.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Good. Good afternoon. My name is Gene Lozano. I am a rider of regional transits, fixed route, light rail, and SAC-RT Go, and the supplementary services. I'm in support of the contract with VIA Transportation, and I feel that they are interested and willing to make necessary modifications if asked to do so. There's three things that I'd like to bring up, though, and that is that the drivers they hire be fluent in written and oral English, that they use Google Maps, because in downtown Sacramento, like the county administration building, you cannot find it on most of the GPS software. Google Maps can take you right there. That is a problem there. And the most important thing is part of the training that we want to know that if there are people that are with disabilities that are actually riders of such transportation can actually be involved in the training so that they can actually give the life experiences that sometimes cannot be picked up in just someone without a disability has not experienced it, or reading a book or something. But thank you very much for listening to my comments.
Thank you. Our next public comment, please.
We have Helen O'Connell.
Hello, Board. I'm going to talk real quickly about 211, and then I'll go into 212. I believe that the bus rapid transit going to the airport would be the most fiscally responsible, because it can be adapted, whereas if you put in a hard light rail, you can't change it once it's there, and things are changing a lot at the airport. Okay, 2.12. The Sacramento County Grand Jury has made a report that states, is Sacramento Regional Transit ignoring disabled riders? There are several issues that were raised. They have six or seven findings and recommendations. I read the letter that Henry wrote, that Henry is going to leave, and then I have read the other letter by Blanca, I believe. They're not being forthright. We have had many discussions over the issues that are raised in this report. They only admit that they have one situation, and they state that they have addressed that situation and are working on it. This concerns me, so I suggest that each board member, before you sign off on this letter, that you actually read the report. It is 23 pages. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next public comment.
Okay, we have Margie Donovan.
I'm not sure that I should be speaking now. Mine is an open comment. Is this a time for that?
No.
We'll have general.
Thank you. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay, and then at this time, there are no comments online.
All right, thank you. Are there any director comments? Looking to the right. Director Dickinson?
I just wanted to comment on 2.4 and 2.11.
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. I just will support 2.4. Oh, sorry. Thank you. I'm going to support 2.4, but I regret seeing this switch made necessary. And this is not instigated at local initiative. I think we should, at least as I understand it, we should make that clear. With respect to I'm sorry, I'm referencing the acquisition of new buses in particular. With respect to 211, again, I'll support that, but I will say that if it detracts from the ultimate objective of realizing light rail to the airport, then I think it becomes a negative. It's a weight. So I know your intention is that not happen, but I want to just make the point for the record that for a lot of reasons, which I'm not going to bother going into at the moment, I've been convinced for a very long time that light rail is the right mode to the airport and for Natomas. And so this makes sense as a practical matter in the interim, but I hope and I expect, based on your intentions, that it will not become a distraction from that ultimate objective. So, thanks, Chair.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I
Director,
completely agree with Director Dickinson.
thank you. Looking to the left, Director Maple.
Well, I think I'm just going to pile on my exact thoughts.
Thank you. Any other directors with comments on this or other items? Seeing none? All right. Yes.
Chair seeing Ellen, Rick Hodgkin raised his hand a little bit late. I didn't know if you wanted to take that comment.
Yes, I would like to.
Okay. Rick, you can talk now.
I'm sorry, it took me a while. It took me a while to find the mute button.
That's okay. We're going to
because-
give grace for the online for, it's,
Okay, great. Okay, so real quickly, on the item on the consent calendar dealing with the added revenue for the update to the amendment to the revenue, I hope that we will still move forward with having zero emission buses, because doesn't even compressed natural gas, doesn't that also pollute the air? We shouldn't have to follow the agenda of our current president who is against zero emission vehicles. I'd say if we must still use fuel, then if compressed natural gas is going to pollute, then why not recycled vegetable oil? And on the procurement, whether we have USERV or switching to via transportation, which I'm in support of. One thing I would like to point out is some user drivers will not wait 5 minutes for a passenger. Some want you to get out right now. I hope that with via, that drivers will have a 5-minute wait if a passenger needs at least 5 minutes more time. And finally, on 2.12, I am very interested. This is new to me as a member, the most newest member of the MAC. This is very troubling and disturbing to me that a care provider would complain to RT about what happened with a SAC RT Go passenger that they support and or take care of. I would like to get the history of that. I just know that there's a grand jury report. I didn't have enough time to read it all, but I would like to know the historics and basis of that, if possible. Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Speech on.
All right. If there are no further director comments, there is one more. Director Cerna.
Thank you, Chair. Just back to item 2.11. I would like to ask the general manager, if it hasn't been completed yet, can the board and the public receive either an oral report and or maybe a memo that gives all of us a better understanding of the current status of IODs along the extent of what would be the Green Line light rail right-of-way? Because I think that more than anything else, more than just interest and ambition to get light rail to the airport, is probably going to foretell the future of the ability to do so more than anything else. And I know that there are certain IODs that are in the county jurisdiction, the unincorporated county, whose shelf life is coming to a close here fairly shortly. So I think it's probably incumbent upon all of us who certainly have a history supporting, myself included, supporting a Green Line extension, need to understand, in the interest of what was said earlier, the practical realities of those elements of that extension that have been set in motion, but maybe coming to a close here again very shortly. Is that something that sounds reasonable?
Okay. Yeah. Yes. I completely agree with all full board members' advice and guidance. This item actually is not, say we're going to go with the BRT first, and then the light rail, later. It's actually just a practical matter. STA, county, and the city, Sacramento, happened to have an opportunity to apply for some Caltrain grant, and actually $700,000 grants, 500 from Caltrains, 200K from the Measure A money. And we have that money in there. Then this grant is ready for us to just do some study. It's not to choose between one or other. And what we're going to do in the future, we have to bring this back to the board, to get enough information and request board decision one way or another. Maybe the first option, first go with the BRT, and then make sure we have those IOA be continue to we still have those right of way. Then later on, when time is right, then we can change to the light rail. Or for hope if we get some additional money in the next 2 years or whatever, then we can directly go with the light rail without doing BRT. So right now it's just in the study stage. That's what this item ready for. It's not something we make decision to.
Understood. I just think that there's obviously enough comment that has been shared here generally on the subject that it just makes this board member interested, again, mostly on behalf of the public, who may not have as complete an understanding as certainly our administrators and the board have relative to the real estate implications of extending light rail. It's not just having the will or having the federal cooperation or the physical ability to get across the river. It also has a great deal to do with real estate decisions that have been made decades ago.
We will do a presentation next time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think several of us would just like to know that there is a mechanism in place to extend those IODs that Joe is talking about, and making sure that they don't expire, so that there is ultimately a route there.
Henry? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that there's a lot of interest in this issue, so if you could bring that back,
Yeah, it's time.
so we can share that out with the public.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Are there any additional director comments? Seeing and hearing none, at this time I will look for a motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes, abstentions? Okay, thank you. Next item, please.
Who moved on that last item? Moved
Brewer.
and second. Okay.
Yes.
Second. Okay.
All right, we have customer service response to feedback and comments.
And Lisa Hines is here to present this item.
Okay, I'm ready. Chair Singh Allen, members of the board, I am Lisa Hines, Senior VP of Security, Safety, and Customer Satisfaction. I am presenting customer satisfaction responses to public concerns and comments. Public comment number 1. How will SAC-RT improve project planning and accountability to reduce repeated environmental studies and redesigns, and ensure policies are followed and maximize limited public funding? The Dos Rios project did not require multiple environmental studies. CEQA clearance was completed in 2017 and NEPA clearance in 2019. The recent board-approved action was a construction change order, not a new environmental study. The change resulted from higher than anticipated contaminated soil encountered during our excavation. Change orders are a normal part of construction. Significant change orders require board approval and a public meeting to ensure transparency and accountability. Next public comment. How does SAC-RT justify eliminating Route 33, which serves an underserved community when the public outreach was limited? Will it also serve loaves and fishes? A new Dos Rios light rail station on the Blue Line between Alkali Flat and the American River is scheduled to open in the summer of 2026, serving the Richards Boulevard area, which has been a long-time gap in the Blue Line. Since 2004, that gap has been filled with Route 33, which runs shuttle service between the Alkali Flat La Valentina station and Dos Rios and Richards Boulevard area. The new Dos Rios station will allow SAC-RT to discontinue Route 33, providing savings of almost $500,000 per year. Compared to Route 33, which only runs 3 times an hour from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. with no weekend or holiday service, the new station will provide residents with light rail service levels such as 15-minute headways, late night service, and 7-day service, and eliminate a time-consuming bus rail transfer. Next, public comment. What is the net financial benefit of fare collection after accounting for the cost of fare enforcement, transit ambassadors, and kiosk management, and how does it compare to the $2.50 average fare? In 2023, staff did an in-depth analysis of the cost of the fare collection and potential impact of eliminating fares altogether. That 2023 study found that the cost of fare collection was approximately 14% of the total of fares collected. This considers contract revenues and other subsidized pass programs like Ride-Free RT, college passes, employer discounts, and others. SAC-RT does not view fare revenue and security as competing priorities. Regardless of fare revenue levels, maintaining a safe, clean, and convenient transit system requires continued investment in security. Next public comment. Has SAC-RT evaluated whether the benefits of fare enforcement, including fare evasion citations, outweigh the associated costs, and whether transit ambassadors could provide greater value by focusing more on customer assistance? SAC-RT works closely with pure transit agencies and has learned from their experiences during the COVID-19 pandemic, when many suspended fare inspection. Those agencies reported increases in trespassing, assaults, and other quality of life issues. As fare inspection resumed, enforcement efforts increased to help restore safety, security, and system integrity. Peer agencies with declining fare compliance also experienced declines in customers' perception of safety and overall rider experience. Many customers reported feeling less comfortable using the system and changing their travel behaviors due to safety concerns. SAC-RT has maintained affordable fares, reducing fares in 2018, while many peer agencies have increased their fares. Fare inspection supports a safe, secure, and clean transit environment and helps discourage misuse of the system. Customer feedback consistently indicates that riders value fare inspection as part of maintaining a positive transit experience. Consistent fare enforcement, including citations when appropriate, helps promote a safe, secure, and reliable experience for all of our riders. Next public comment. How is SAC-RT addressing concerns that enforcement-first approach has made riders less comfortable and shifted transit ambassadors away from the original customer service role. After hearing from concerned riders around the first of the year that transit ambassadors were not checking fare, we implemented quality assurance steps to ensure that TAs are consistently checking fare. The board also recently approved the addition of $1 million to the security budget, allowing us to maintain a staff of 60 transit ambassadors with the goal of having a TA on every train consist. The transit ambassadors attend a 3-month-long training academy where a balance between customer service and fare enforcement is taught. Based upon feedback from the recent board meeting, we started issuing warnings versus citations for any issues regarding fare media. We have issued over 1,700 warnings in the last couple of months since the past meeting as a result. For perspective, from July 2025 to July 2026, TAs have tracked and took note that they provided 141,000 instances where they provided customer service to riders. Next public comment. Will SACRT rescind the cart policy given its impact on elderly riders who cannot easily empty or carry their carts? SACRT quickly created a committee to address concerns regarding strollers, carts, and wagons, and also bicycles. SACRT Legal is currently drafting a proposed policy change based upon the committee's recommendation. This draft will be shared with the MAC once ready and then brought before the board. Next public comment. If Connect cards are phased out, how will SACRT accommodate riders without a working smartphone or those who prefer physical fare media? Will physical Connect cards continue to be offered? And are Connect card readers planned for the light rail stations, with transit ambassadors getting training to assist when a card actually fails to scan? SACRT recognizes that not all riders use smartphones or mobile apps, and we are committed to providing accessible fare payments for all. As Connect cards are phased out, Transit Connect will offer a smart card option that serves as a direct replacement for the existing Connect card, ensuring riders who do not have a working phone or simply prefer to pay with cash and have a physical card can do so. In addition, Transit Connect will support riders who prefer to pay with cash, like I just mentioned. Customers will be able to add value to their accounts at approximately 100 retail locations, as well as at fare vending machines. The new fare validation equipment will be located at light rail stations and will support Transit Connect smart cards, allowing riders to tap their card just as they do today. We will have at least one Connect card terminal tap machine at each light rail station. SACRT is also developing training and operating procedures to ensure that transit ambassadors understand how to assist customers if a smart card does not scan or if there is a fare validation issue. As we transition to Transit Connect, we will continue working with our regional partners to ensure a smooth transition for all riders. Next public comment. What additional steps is SACRT taking to improve bus bridge reliability, provide timely rider communication, monitor performance, and minimize service disruptions and ADA impacts on regular bus routes? Emergency bus bridges require an immediate response. We first assign available extra board operators. If none are available, operators may be temporarily reassigned from high-frequency routes. Because these events are generally short in duration, operators are returned to their regular assignments as quickly as possible. The reference day presented significant operational challenges due to the high number of operator call-offs and an emergency bus bridge requiring immediate coverage. As a result, Route 51 experienced several consecutive trip cancellations. We recognize the impact service disruptions have on our passengers, especially when ADA accessible space is unavailable. We are enhancing bus bridge communication and oversight through real-time alerts, station staff, and increased field supervision to assist passengers and promptly address service issues. Blue Line temporary light rail disruption. This is an information item. A temporary service disruption is in place on the Blue Line between the Broadway and Fruit Ridge light rail stations through Saturday, August 15th, while crews complete major platform upgrades at the 4th Avenue, Wayne Holtgren, and City College stations. These improvements are part of SACRT's system-wide modernization program to prepare the Blue Line for the new Siemens S700 low-floor trains. To minimize impacts to riders, SACRT will operate a bus bridge between Broadway and Fruitridge stations throughout the construction period with frequent service and additional staff available to assist riders with transfers. While construction may affect some students who use the 4th Ave Wayne Holtgren station to travel to CK McClatchy High School, SACRT staff is working closely with McClatchy administration to notify students through social media, news releases, targeted flyers, and emails to significantly reduce any impact. The Blue Line upgrades will make boarding significantly easier for all riders, particularly seniors, individuals with disabilities, families with strollers, and passengers using mobility devices. Unlike many Gold Line stations.
Pause for 1 second.
Yes, ma'am.
Director Maple has a question.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question on the McClatchy update. I see the dates between July 27th and August 15th. When does school start? Okay, so there's a 4-day difference in there that might impact the students. Okay.
Correct.
Is there any possibility of it maybe aligning better with the start of the? I'll just put that out there as a comment, and then it would be great if you could look into that. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me find my spot now. Unlike many Gold Line stations, Blue Line stations are bordered by active Union Pacific Railroad tracks or nearby buildings, leaving no space to safely stage heavy equipment while trains continue operating. As a result, this work can only be completed when trains are not in service. Public comment. Will SACRT consider restoring Route 91 to the Sunrise Light Rail Station or implementing an express bus along Sunrise Boulevard to improve connections to the station? SACRT Bus Route 91 was discontinued in 2008 due to low ridership and an overlap with existing Bus Route 21. Since then, SACRT implemented Bus Route 124 during the SACRT Forward Bus Network redesign. This express bus route serves Orangevale, Citrus Heights, Sunrise Boulevard, Sunrise Light Rail Station, and Rancho Cordova. SACRT is looking to partner with the city of Citrus Heights to study the feasibility of a northeast bus rapid transit route along Greenback Lane. This study will investigate additional service along Sunrise Boulevard to Sunrise Light Rail Station. Next, public comment. Will SACRT improve bus service to the Costco on Expo and the surrounding businesses to eliminate the long walk riders currently face accessing transit? The Costco on Expo Parkway was previously served by Bus Route 12. However, it was discontinued around the year 2005 due to low ridership. Due to unknown demand and it being out of direction for nearby bus route, SACRT has not considered service to this location. This service change inquiry would require additional costs to SACRT operations and maintenance, of which SACRT does not have additional funding for. SACRT is looking to prioritize service changes that do not increase ongoing costs, which are being explored in SACRT's comprehensive operational analysis. An update to SACRT's short and long-range transit plans, which will be brought to the board later this year. That concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you for that very thorough presentation. Are there any director questions regarding what we just saw? Yes, Director Dickinson.
Thanks. I just have a question about the fair transition. So I was trying to understand, Laura, whether someone would be able to walk up to any station, tap their credit card, and pay their fare.
They could pay for their fare at the fare vending machine and tap their card. But the Connect card, you tap your Connect card.
Well, okay, maybe I'm not following. What I was asked about is your credit card. So that.
Yeah, you could do that.
Because I know we've had some trouble maintaining the fare vending machines at stations in an operable condition. So can you currently walk up to any station?
Yes, we got all new fare vending machines. You want to answer it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, good evening. I just want to explain that. So we're going to be installing new tap devices, replacing the old Connect card. And yes, you will be able to walk up to any machine and tap with a credit card, your watch. It'll have all of that tap to ride ability. We're working on that. I'm not sure. Do you know when we're going to install it? I think next month? Yeah, you're going to start seeing them out. They're going to start rolling out. You're going to start seeing them at all the light rail stations. So you will be able to use a credit card.
Will that be part of the fare vending machine, or is that a standalone?
Separate. It's a standalone.
It's a standalone
It's
piece.
literally replacing some of the Connect card areas where there's electricity that, we're going to replace those old Connect card tap readers with brand new ones that we hope are a little more vandal-proof and that are tied to the Transit Connect app.
Okay. You anticipated my next question, which is how secure are they?
Yes.
They're encaged.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Other director comments? Director Rodriguez.
Thank you for the presentation. So I've been writing to work for the past month, and I write it about 3 to 4 days a week. But the Bob Holdren station, Glen Station in Folsom, and the 7th and H station, both the tap cards have been broken for a long time. And I was calculating, for me, it's like $5 a day, $20 a week, $80 a month. And that's just one person. I could imagine for many other individuals. But I'm glad to hear that we will get tap cards at least at one of the boxes. But my thoughts were, isn't it possible, or probably less likely of somebody vandalizing those machines, if you put them on the actual light rail buses, like put them somewhere on the actual light rail, where if I got on, I could just tap it, and the possibility of it getting vandalized is least likely in comparison to the locations that I guess get vandalized quite a bit.
We'll have to get back to you on that. I wasn't part of the study.
Oh, okay. It just seemed like it would be less costly, and that way, if somebody gets on, they can tap their card.
Deborah.
It's me again. Yes. Thank you for asking that question. Actually, it's a safety issue. We did have them on the trains, and what happens are people board and they go to tap, and the train starts moving. So, and plus, it's also a Wi-Fi connection issue. So there's 2 different things that happen there, but more or less, it's really a safety issue.
Okay.
Other director questions? To the left? Yes, Director Maple?
Thank you, Chair. Well, just to pile on a little bit to Director Rodriguez, and I recognize that every system's different, but this was not in the U.S. This is on a trip to Amsterdam, very different transit system there, but they have light rail all over the city, and they have tap to pay for everything, and it's on the trains. So, but they have different stations throughout the trains and the buses, so you don't necessarily have to congregate at the door to do it. You can go in, find your spot, and tap while you're. So, but I do recognize the Wi-Fi issue still could be. So I'm not sure how they've resolved that, but I think it's an interesting thing to look into if we can revisit, because maybe there's some ways to work around the safety and Wi-Fi issues.
Madam Chair? Yes, actually, we are still discussing the new trends. We try to install the Wi-Fi, then, looking forward to see if we can install the, tap device inside. That definitely will be one way we look at it in the future, yeah.
Can I just give some other feedback? Is, another option, because I see it quite a bit where somebody has their Connect card, but they couldn't tap it, and then they're on the train, and we get asked for a proof of purchase, and we give them a card. But if the ambassador had some form of machine that we could just tap it, and that way it charges the price there instead of going unpaid. And you get a pass.
We used to be able to do that. Lisa, can you explain, what happened, and then can we bring that back?
I'm just thinking of the revenue generated.
Transit ambassador cell phones, but the new program doesn't allow for that.
Excellent comments, though, Director Rodriguez, an active user of SAC-RT, which we love. All right, we will now take public comment on item 3.1. Do we have?
Hey,
Yes.
Yes. In-person public comment, we have Helen O'Connell and Dan Allison.
Hello, board. I feel strongly that a lot of these things are in good faith, and as far as the the buses being discontinued and not covered completely or even closely. Those things need to be told to the public a long time before you actually discontinue a route, i.e. the 33. Another thing I was going to talk about is a friend of mine who is physically unable to get a boarding pass and validate it. He can get it, but he can't validate it due to his physical limitations. He was boarding the train. Someone gave him a ticket. He tried to explain that he had physical limitations that made it unable to validate. The person just said, take it to court. That didn't seem right to me. I appreciate the fact that they are working on getting better communications. I'm glad that RT's executive board has heard me when I said that, what was it? Oh, the communications between the bus bridges, not to take out several consecutive buses off of the same route at the same time. I appreciate the attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment?
Dan Allison.
Dan Allison. First, comment on the physical card for Connect Transit, Transit Connect. I'm glad to see that's happening. I did not see it in any of the planning documents leading up to that. So it was either a secret from the public or it simply wasn't thought of before, and that's kind of a bad thing. It should have been part of the program from the beginning, and it was not. I looked, it was not there. About enforcement on light rail. I ride Metro, probably more than anybody in the room, and Metro has far worse problems than anything we have here in Sacramento. But there are two characteristics. One is they do not escalate situations. And two is that if there's not a situation, they are friendly to people. Both of those things are often lacking here in Sacramento. Despite the fact that they have worse problems there, they do a better job of dealing with the public. I'm still disappointed that our Transit Ambassador program, which was supposed to be, at least in part, education, turned into a semi-law enforcement activity. I don't think that's right. Question about the committee. Who's on the committee? Is there a MAC representative? Is there a parent who uses strollers? Is there a bike rider? Is it just an internal committee? If so, you're not getting feedback from the people you really need to hear from. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment?
Okay, now we're going to move to online. We have Nate Doberneck.
Good afternoon, Nate Obernack. On behalf of the McClatchy High School Parent Teacher Student Association, I want to underscore the importance of the Blue Line at McClatchy High School, and I appreciate Director Maple's comments regarding the disruption during the first few days of the year. McClatchy High School is a heavily transit-dependent school, heavily reliant on bus route 62 and the Blue Line. And it is unfortunate. We do look forward to the new improvements coming to the Blue Line station. And just want to underscore that during that first week, we will be out there during student orientation to really uplift and illuminate all the transit options for the new students and parents to allow them to really partake even more of what's really a good program for McClatchy High School. So we look forward to the improvements on the Blue Line, and you'll probably be hearing more from us later on other programs to maintain and increase transit ridership to Sacramento's most celebrated high school, McClatchy. Thank you.
Any other online public comments?
Yes, next we have Viet Long Nguyen.
Yes, good evening. My name is Viet Long Nguyen. I wanted to comment on the really helpful discussion on the safety concerns with the card readers. Are you able to hear me?
We can hear you. Continue. Did we lose?
Viet? Are you finished with your comment?
I think so. I think, okay. Next, online public comment.
Next, we have Rick Hodgkins.
All right, so I don't know if everybody can see me as well as hear me, but anyway, I would like to piggyback off of what council member / director Maple said, and that is, again, I also recognize each and every transit system is different. The one legitimate reason I see to having tap machines on board trains is just probably perhaps the same reason why San Francisco Muni and other Bay Area transit systems have it on their buses and trains. I could be at a light rail station tapping my phone or card, if you will, and some idiot that's homeless come up and might say, give me, oh, give me, can I use it? Can I use it? Give me, can I use it? And that's my take on it, because the safety issue for me is, unless I'm on a train, I'm afraid that someone is going to want to use my fare or take it while I'm trying to validate it. The other thing about the bus routes being discontinued, such as the 12 and 91 back in the day, nobody told us back in the day that it was because of low ridership. We were all told because then Governor Schwarzenegger forced us to cut routes because he wanted to cut. I didn't know that there was low ridership. But now that I know that, I hope that we can revisit. And again, we need to bring the California Apartment Association on board, because I hate to sound like a broken record, but we were told no one wants to give RT more money unless we help resolve the homeless issue. Thank you.
Speaker on.
Next public comment.
There's no more public comment.
All right. Are there any follow-up director comments based on Ms. Hines' presentation? Looking to the left, seeing none. Looking to the right, seeing none. All right. We will move on to our next agenda item. Public addresses board on matters not on the agenda.
Okay, in person, we have Margie Donovan, Helen O'Connell, Robert Copeland, and Austin Kelly.
Good evening, Madam Chair and honorable board members. First of all, thank you for your service to RT. My name is Margie Donovan. I reside in the city of Folsom. And I'm here to address two things real quickly. In reading the grand jury report, I guess it was the first time I remember learning about 120 SAC RT Go drivers. The ridership is vastly increasing. The demand is vastly increasing. That 120 is a great number if there's no vacations, no call out sick. And I'm going to make a statement here. There are groups of drivers intentionally calling out sick because they are so frustrated with how many hours and how behind they are, and RT must do something to support our SAC RT Go drivers better. Thank you. Next thing, I'm just going to remind you that 3 years ago, I suffered a traumatic brain injury. I have post-concussion syndrome. I might get emotional. Don't worry about it. That's just part of what I live with. I'm here to talk about some wonderful SAC RT Go drivers. You guys hear a lot of garbage. Again, I live in Folsom, and we have two drivers. We have Jackie and Willie. And if it weren't for them, yep, I'm going to get emotional. I've had to undergo some pretty serious medical treatment for 35 consistent days in a row. When I leave that treatment, I am so out of it mentally and dizzy, etc., often nauseous. These drivers go above and beyond. These drivers communicate with each other. If one of them takes me and they don't have me to be picked up at 9, they communicate to make sure I'm being picked up with each other. They also, I know this is expected of every driver. It doesn't, operator. I intentionally want to use the word operators. These are bus operators. They go above and beyond. They come and get me. They give me an arm 99% of the time I need it. And if it weren't for these drivers, I would not be able to do the things that I can do every day of my life with my new disability. I wouldn't be able to get the medical treatment if I didn't have the love and the support of Willie and Jackie. And I intentionally put those names forward because I know there's a lot of complaints. And I'm one that happens to write commendations as well. And these two drivers go so far above and beyond that they have made it possible for me to get out of my house, make medical appointments, and if I feel well enough to even go grocery shopping. I wanted to share that with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing.
And Helen O'Connell?
Hello, Board. I just want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to get the information that some people get and some people don't. So, the address is Sacramento County Grand Jury.gov/report for the report that I referenced. Again, I would like to also thank the forward-thinking employees of SACRT. I'd like to piggyback on Margie Donovan's comment that, yeah, they say we have enough money to pay for 125 drivers, but on any one day, we only have 90 or 80 drivers actually driving. We have too many people to drive around, too many trips for that many people. It should be 125 active drivers and then allow for people that are on vacation or sick leave or whatever. This would greatly enhance our on-time performance and the quality of service. 99% of the RT drivers have the best interest of the patrons in mind and go above and beyond the call of duty. This is my comment today, and I hope that this will be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Next public comment?
Robert Copeland?
I want to talk about the half-cent ballot measure. I think it should go to housing, not transportation. I mean, after hearing people want light rail to the airport, how much is that going to cost? Light rail to the airport, maybe light rail to Elk Grove. It should go to housing, which will solve more things than the sales tax for transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment?
Austin Kelly.
Austin Kelly. Dear members of the board, when something is wrong, I will not be calling. When something is wrong, I will not be calling any of the numerous personal injury attorneys RT proudly advertises on the side of their buses and trains to fix it. For a system that is intended to take personal responsibility out of the equation when it comes to transportation, The system's advertising initiatives say otherwise. While I understand that third-party marketers are responsible for contracting these ads across the system, that doesn't take away the fact that a certain level of harm is expected within our community for these businesses to flourish. The ad spots that are currently dominated by harmful businesses like these could be used to boost our local economy in a meaningful way. Providing premier advertising space to local community-building businesses and organizations will have a more lasting impact than hoping enough people get in car wrecks for a billboard lawyer to justify shelling out more blood money on yet another SACRT ad campaign. Selling out our community for less than 0.5% of the proposed revenues for 2027 cannot be a reasonable position for this board. If this board is serious about providing a positive good for our community and demonstrating their commitment to moving the people of this region safely and on time, then I propose RT renegotiate their advertising contract with both Lamar Advertising and Clear Channel Outdoor to exclude the ability of community-harming businesses to advertise on the system. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment.
Okay, now we're going to move to online. We have Wendy Bogdan.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Great. Hello, my name is Wendy Bogdan. I am the president of the CK McClatchy High Parent Teacher Student Association, where I'm on the board with Nate, who spoke earlier. I have two asks for you and an update. But first, I just wanted to let all of you know, over the last 3 years, the McClatchy PTSA has really been prioritizing traffic and transportation issues. I've interacted with a few of the directors on this issue. One of the things that came up last spring that we worked on quite a bit was the Ride Free program. I think that our campaign had a role in bringing the parties together and making sure that the funding continued for another year. We've been following up with Henry, with Chris, with others to try to have a meeting this summer where we could talk to you about some feedback that we received generally, and then also kick off a series of meetings with the city and county and other potential funders. Unfortunately, probably for understandable reasons with summer vacations and leaves and the like, those meetings have been stalled. But I'd really ask if the staff could refresh that effort. We sent over another email today asking you to identify some times that you could meet. And it would just be great if you could dig at that email and provide some times to meet with us. Nate and I would really appreciate it. The other ask that I have is that we're working to increase ridership. We'd really like some help with improvements on the bus stop in front of McClatchy. And we'd like to feature that as part of an activation week that we're doing the end of August, beginning of September. That will probably include Leo the Lion serving donuts to folks getting off at the 4th Avenue stop. We're also providing incentives. The PTSA is funding incentives for the students who ride SACRT, bike, walk, or carpool. That's going to be a big effort. We're really looking forward to lifting up our SACRT along with the other alternatives to underutilized cars. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment.
That's all the public comment.
All right. We will move past the public comment opportunity now and go on to item 5.1.
Item 5.1, new business information item, draft Sacramento Regional Transit District Strategic Plan 2026 to 2030, and Shelley Valentin is here to present this item.
All right. Good evening. Can you hear me okay? Yep. Okay, good evening. I am Shelley Valentin, Deputy General Manager, CEO, and tonight I will be giving you a proposed Sacramento Regional Transit 5-year strategic plan. And before we do, we would like to do a quick look back of our, I would say, present 5-year strategic plan. Technical issues here. Okay. So this current plan that we have, the 2021-2025 strategic plan, was really an effort That was starting from our board members. They started with a board retreat that time, and then all-day planning from our executive team, also our employees, a series of town halls and feedback. We are very proud of the 5-year strategic plan that we created during that time because it really shaped our new strategic plan, our mission, vision, and our values, and also provided us the opportunity to focus on a very data-driven decision-making process. It's focused on accountability, transparency with KPIs that we measure regularly. The annual review of the general manager's performance was directly tied to achieving the annual strategic plan KPIs up to now. And we are very proud that our strategic plan today is not one of those documents that you complete and put in a shelf collecting dust. It has really been our guide, an active document that provides us with a clear framework for decision making, enabling the organization to adapt to changing conditions while maintaining our alignment with our long-term vision. So this is the performance scorecard. You're probably familiar with it. I hope you are. We include this in our quarterly board report by the GM to the board. We also have that as a big and important piece of his annual performance review. This performance scorecard is a critical tool for tracking progress against strategic goals. It consolidates our key performance indicators into that one-page format that you see here, and it allows leadership and stakeholders to monitor achievements and identify areas needing attention. We have come a long way in our KPI generation and review, and staff's ability to analyze trends, benchmark our performance against our peers, and maintain a single source of truth on our data reporting. Next slide. This strategic plan that we have today has had a profound impact to our staff and our operations because it aligned our organizational focus and emphasized measurable outcomes tied to the mission and vision. It has fostered cross-departmental collaboration and shared success. It promoted accountability and transparency. You see here in this slide some of the feedback we've heard from our own staff who really have been a part of this process, from our executive management team to the management team to department level engagement. Everyone has been actively involved in creating this plan and bringing it to life every quarter, really. It's been so ingrained in our culture that you will often hear conversations about our KPIs. We're nerding out about KPIs and our strategic pillars and our values among staff. And they are embedded in other important plans and documents that we have, such as our capital planning process, our annual budget reports, and even how we select our employees of the quarter. These are all based on our values and the strategic plan goals that we have for the agency. They guide us in making data-driven decisions on priority projects as well as capital and technology investments. And with that note, I want to introduce our proposed new strategic plan. Really, this has been working so well for us the last 5 years. So for the most part, we propose to keep most of the elements of the current strategic plan that we have. We maintain our SACRT mission, vision, and value statement, and build upon the success of the previous plan that is included in your board packet today. This current plan details SACRT's aspirations and the steps for attaining our goals and aligns our mission, vision, and values with strategic priorities. It ensures that SACRT continues to strive to provide safe, reliable, and accessible transit service while meeting the evolving needs of the region. So the 5-year plan we're presenting to you tonight is the framework document. So what you don't see as part of that document is the actual annual plan, because that's a living and breathing document that we update every year, starting with the performance goal discussion with the general manager. The annual plan is set by the leadership team afterwards based on the feedback from the board and the priorities based on our 5-year strategic plan. And then based on this annual plan, departments establish a work plan with specific quarterly KPIs and tactics to support the annual goals. And then this is reviewed quarterly. We have meetings after meetings for each department reviewing our KPIs and metrics every quarter. We have updated the performance scorecard that's a part of this and made changes to allow for more stringent performance targets with an increased reliance on industry standards and peer agency comparisons to ensure accountability and alignment with best practices in public transit. So this slide visually presents the strategic plan framework. It demonstrates how our mission, vision, values, strategic pillars, goals, tactics, and KPIs are all interconnected to support the overall strategy. In its simplest form, the strategic plan represents 4 fundamental and integrated elements. First, you see here is our why. Our why is why Sacramento is driven to deliver high-quality service. So that's our mission, vision, and values. Second is the what. What measurable outcomes do we strive to achieve? And this is set in our annual goals. Third is the how we will work towards achieving these goals, and this covers our specific tactical activities every year. And finally, the who. I feel like Dr. Seuss here, the who. This is the accountability piece. Who within SAC-RT is contributing to the achievement of these goals? And this involves the use of the performance scorecard system to monitor our progress on a quarterly basis. And that 4 elements form our 4 strategic pillars, holding all of these elements together. So let me quickly walk you through each of the 4 elements, starting with our why. Our why is our mission, vision, and value statement. You may recall, some of you were here when we simplified our very, very long mission and vision statement. And this simplified version still works very well for us. Mission is moving you where you want to go, when you want to go. It's that simple, it's that straightforward. We can all memorize it. Our vision is to be a leader in providing mobility options for our community. And you see here our 5 core values: collaboration, innovation, trust, respect, and excellence. These values establish the principles and expected behavior that shape our culture, decision-making, and interactions with customers, employees, and the community. So the famous or infamous 4 strategic pillars, we've talked about this a lot of times: customer satisfaction, operational excellence, community value, and employee engagement. Like before, they remain central to the new plan. Each pillar addresses a critical area: enhancing customer experience, improving service and efficiency, strengthening community partnerships and economic impact, and investing in our employees. Together, they provide a balanced approach to achieving SAC-RT's mission and sustaining long-term success. So this is the what, right? Our annual outcomes. The annual goals and outcomes that define what SAC-RT aims to achieve, and these are operationalized in the strategic pillars into specific measurable targets. They guide our departments in creating their own benchmarks and performance targets every quarter. For the next 5 years, we propose to focus on further improving customer satisfaction, system reliability, enhancing safety and security, modernizing transit infrastructure within reasonable budget, and expand access to quality transit options, all while maintaining fiscal accountability, and again, within our available means. Our key immediate initiatives during this time will include further advancing light rail modernization efforts, investing in zero-emission bus technology, improving bus stop amenities and accessibility, implementing integrated mobility solutions, and leveraging technology to provide real-time information and seamless fare payment options. So the next slide is our how, the tactics and quarterly milestones. It involves the tactics and quarterly milestones set by each department before the fiscal year begins. So our departments collaborate with the OMB office, and they align goals and track accomplishments, put that in a system, and make it turn them into measurable KPIs. And then SAC-RT's executive team reviews that also every quarter, approve the tactics, make sure we have the resources to support them, and align them with our strategic plan 5-year goals. So there's an example on the bottom right of this slide. It shows a very specific quarterly goal regarding our account-based ticketing system project and the accomplishments related to that goal. So you'll see on the right-hand side the accomplishments that are tied to this goal for that quarter, which included, as examples, the launch of a Transit Connect app and the board's approval of the 175 light rail readers. And this is just one of the hundreds of tactical activities and worksheets that we track and measure quarterly tied to our strategic plan. Achievements of the goals give us the points, like a reward system, right? And those all add up and form our quarterly and annual overall score. There's a whole process in science and math behind it. Thank God I don't have to do the math. We have our finance experts doing the math for us. What you see is the one-page scorecard as a report, but behind that scorecard is hundreds and hundreds of data points that they validate every single quarter. So the last element is our who, The quarterly performance scorecard represents the accountability piece, right? Who is responsible for meeting all of the goals that we set for ourselves? This scorecard uses industry standards where available and internal historical data to benchmark performance. It's our performance management tool and measures progress towards goals within each of the 4 strategic pillars. And like before, the performance scorecard will be used to actively report to the board, the customers, and the community on progress towards achieving the strategic goal objectives. And new for this year, we will see a different scorecard format. It uses Power BI. It's a Microsoft Business Analytics platform. The Power BI will really enhance our accessibility and usability. Once it's all ready, our hope is that it will all be available on our website, and you just have to click a button and you get our performance dashboards in real time based on what data points you would like to see. In closing, SACRT's strategic plan will continue to serve as the guiding vision for the agency's continued growth and success, positioning us to meet the region's transportation needs now and into the future. This today is an information item. We welcome additional feedback from the board and the public. We will come back next meeting to ask for the board's approval of the proposed 5-year strategic plan. And I want to thank the board for your strategic guidance, our general manager, and all the staff. We have so many staff members who work on our strategic plan. I'm the one standing here before you, but I think all of our VPs and managers can speak to the strategic plan because, again, it's so ingrained in our culture and how we do our work at SACRT. And with that, I conclude my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you for that excellent presentation. At this time, I will open it up for director questions. Director Rodriguez?
Or comments?
Comments come after.
Okay, I'll wait for comments.
Questions?
Yeah, I do have a question, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. One thing I noticed with the structure of our particular strategic plan that is centered around kind of the science behind KPI is we don't have any section that's dedicated that intends to express various metrics about financial stability for the organization. Is it just a given that that is an underlying intent or goal? It seems to me that we have such a unique place as a service provider here in our city, county, and region that it seems a little odd that we don't have specific metrics in a specific category called financial health or financial stability. I've seen that broken out in other KPI-centered strategic plans in the past. So I was just wondering, what is the assumption behind the financial aspect of our strategic planning?
Thank you for that feedback. We can do a better job presenting it and highlighting the financial pieces of the document. You will see in the scorecard that we present that there's different elements of it that are about financial accountability. One would be our cost per ride, and about our other operational data points that show our cost and our operations. We also have data that's about, Jason, you can help me if I'm forgetting any of our data points, but there's a lot that's specific to our fiscal management team also. I see Jason there.
Hi, Jason Johnson, CFO. The only thing I would add is that finance is a support department to a great extent, support division. So while there aren't specifics to the financial stability or fiscal stability overall, you see it throughout all the metrics that are in the strategic plan, that we are supporting everything else that's going on throughout the district. So that is part of it. But we can look at doing some additional metrics perhaps that go specifically to that fiscal stability, as that's been discussed in other meetings previously.
And one thing to add before Henry does quickly is that at the department level, even when we were reviewing our tactics and our quarterly performance goals, we reviewed their budgets too and how it aligns with the performance objectives and whether they are exceeding or underperforming based on the budget. So we assign dollar figures to each of the goals and the programs that we have before they could even be actual capital programs. But again, we could do a better job articulating that in the document itself.
You want to? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe directly is asking about a strategic plan for our financial future, something like that, and we can insert some of those elements into the physical sustainability in short term, middle term, long term.
Well, I think it's wise to maybe rethink that, just because there's so much of what is substantive to the rest of the strategic plan that is completely dependent upon financial health.
Yes.
And Director Dickinson in particular will probably remember when we used to really emphasize fare box revenue and understanding that as a metric. This is more than a decade ago when I first joined the board. And even in the oral presentation, there's always that constant footnote, within our means. So that's a really important part of, I think, probably any agency's strategic plan, but because of the uniqueness of how we depend on various levels of subsidy, fare box revenue, maybe bringing it to the surface a little closer than where it is currently in the strategic plan might be something to consider.
Absolutely, we will
I
add
agree
that
100%
element. Yeah.
with Director Cerna. Particularly, when we do this deep dive with the strategic plan, we need to have a better understanding of where we are, where we're going, particularly in light of the fact that I think just most recently, the signature gathering effort was unsuccessful. And what does that mean, not having dedicated funding? Particularly in the best interest of transparency, we need to have that more thoughtful conversation and do the deeper dive on our financial well-being and how it overlaps with the strategic plan. I don't think we can separate them.
Thank you. We will make sure to include that. These are the kind of feedback that we really want to hear so we could make it better.
Thank you.
Other director questions? Director Dickinson.
Thanks, Chair. Well, I certainly endorse the conversation we've had so far. I'm assuming there's considerable text to fill out what you have. And by the way, thank you for the presentation. But what was presented under the agenda item? Is that my supposition is correct in that
Yes,
regard? Okay.
we do have the written document, and then we have the website that has all of the information and the dashboards also. And then I'm happy to add to it if there's any specific area that you'd like to expand on.
Well, I mean, it depends on what that elaboration says, but I do wonder about a few things. First of all, and these are not in a particular order, but the success of public transit, I think, increasingly depends on the ability to address first mile, last mile issues and considerations. But I didn't see that as something that was called out in what was presented either in the agenda material or, Shelley, in your comments. And so one question is, to what extent do we need to address, to a greater extent, that set of issues related to first mile and last mile?
I believe we included in our annual goals, but I think that is a very good point as far as making that defined too in the strategic plan document itself. So we will make that adjustment.
Okay. And I mean, this is more, how are we thinking about it? What are we doing? What are we trying to accomplish and to achieve ultimately greater transit usage by virtue of taking advantage of or incorporating first mile, last mile consideration? That's really it's a question. I'm not suggesting the answer. I'm suggesting I think that's a big question out there for us to address.
It's a good question.
Secondly, to me, what was presented hinted at, but didn't really get to equity issues, and so it's not just whether we're measuring did the bus start when it was scheduled to start, and did it finish when it was scheduled to finish, and did it stop at the places that it was scheduled to stop at in between. There are larger considerations for us, I think, and that are very difficult to address with limited resources, but even more necessary because of limited resources to in fact address. And so is there a comment that you would have in terms of the extent to which the strategic plan addresses equity?
Yes, I wish I did include it in my talking points because it's in the strategic plan document itself. The language is there about prioritizing serving disadvantaged communities and promoting, equity considerations. But we will think about how we could further
and I think
focus on that.
And as a statement of intent, I think that's great. But what does that translate to? What does that mean with our route planning, for example, with our schedule planning? With all of our service elements, what does it mean to implement that intention? I'm not asking you to necessarily address that substantively at the moment, but I think the strategic plan needs to indicate how in fact are we incorporating our intention with respect to equity, having said that it's an important principle for us.
Thank you.
I don't know the extent to which you look at the strategic plan as to a certain extent being aspirational, but for example, you say under service it should be safe, convenient, and reliable, all of which I agree with. But I think for me, over all the years, those three are critical, and one more is frequent. Now, frequency is really tough for us, again, with very limited resources. But if we're not aspiring to provide service on a frequent basis, then I think we're not going to be ultimately successful in attracting riders. We have to be all four of those things, I think. And so maybe that's aspirational in terms of making the Route 19 someday frequent, whatever that might mean in that context. But is that, in fact, an element that we care about or we aspire to? And that again, is a question. I don't know, but I didn't get that from the presentation.
Thank you. That's great feedback. And yeah, the frequency piece is right now going to be very aspirational, and it's also tied to the financial piece that we've talked about, but it's such an important element that we will make sure to include that. And then on the comment you have about the equity discussion, I think, again, it's good to put that in the plan itself. I also want to point out that we have other documents that put that in greater detail. We have our Title VI analysis, our service planning documents, our long-range and short-range planning documents that has more detailed information on the equity piece of our route planning that we will make sure to cite in the document for the strategic plan document also.
And it's great. We just make sure we reference those, I think, so anyone who asks that question gets guided to exactly where the detail is. But the last thing I wanted to mention was, and this really builds on the comment made by Director Cerna, there was a time when fare box recovery, as an example, was an important element, and there were state mandates with respect to fare box recovery. But we provide a lot of service funded by non-fare box sources, and whether it's Measure A or it's direct contributions by jurisdictions or other things. And I do think that part of the strategic plan needs to be what is our expectation or our goal with respect to how we're going to fund service. Are we no longer going to think of riders as a principal source of revenue for the operation? It's down to like 8.5% or so, as if I recall the last report. Or do we have a strategic goal of increasing direct rider support for service? By asking the question, I'm not necessarily suggesting the answer, but I do think that's a question that the public is always interested in, is how much are the people who are using the service paying for it? And maybe you carve out some things, like ride free, I mean, for youth, or other things, but I think it's something we need to address in this strategic plan. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And on that note, just quickly, I think one of the beauty of having the benchmarking tool that we use is that we also know what our comparable agencies are doing and their fare recovery, which is part of the measures that we are tracking right now. So we know that we are right there comparable with other peers and that the same problems we have are common to the other agencies and we're resolving them in the same way everyone else is resolving them. But we would like to have that
Yeah,
input in there.
I mean, and just lastly, I am very concerned about the potential for running into the fiscal cliff for us. Others obviously are experiencing it now, especially in the Bay Area, but I think that's something we need to be very cognizant of. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other director questions before we go to public comment? All right, we will go ahead and switch over to public comment on item 5.1.
Okay, there's no in-person public comment, and online we have Rick Hodgkins. Rick?
Okay, are you there?
We're here.
Okay, so anyway, here is my take on this item. First, I want to say that, Lisa Hines pointed out that routes were discontinued like routes 12 and 91 because of low ridership. Again, I did not know that. I thought it was because of a state mandate. I hope that we aspire or care to bring those routes, revisit those routes. If not in the short term, perhaps in the long term. I believe to be true to our mission and vision and values, I believe we need to bring some housing organizations to the table, particularly the California Apartment Association. And finally, last and not least, that when I was taking community college classes, even if I did not need the bus pass or the sticker because I had a Connect card provided by Alta, I still had to pay for the bus sticker or the bus pass to put on my Los Rios card, even if I didn't need it. And all the Los Rios students have to pay for that, whether they use it or not. I believe we should maybe ask schools to financially give a little. There's extra money in the state budget for schools this year. So maybe do with the schools what we've been doing with the Los Rios Community College District. Instead of having ride free, if we're going to allow those students to continue to ride free in the schools, in the school districts, parents pay tuition so that their kids can pay for their kids to go to school. Let's just include that in the tuition. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments online?
Next, we have Nate Dobrnek with McClatchy High School.
Thank you again. I'm with McClatchy High School here. I do appreciate Member Dickinson's comments regarding the pillars that he's looking for. Again, safe, cheap, convenient, reliable, all the things that we look for in public transit. That's why we feel that the Ride-Free RT program is essentially training and creating a group of youth that then rely on transit, become savvy to using it, and hopefully will become those future fare box payers and maintain and support the system. That's why we continue to endorse the Ride-Free program, not only for the RT's benefit, but the huge benefits it has in increasing daily attendance, which has a direct correlation to student outcomes and grades. So we look forward to continuing the conversation to uplift the Ride-Free program. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment?
That's all the public comment.
All right, now we'll go to director comments. Director Rodriguez.
Shelley, I want to commend the organization and Henry for your leadership. When a government entity implements a strategic plan, I think it is one of the best investments that can be made for taxpayers and for the ridership. I think it is one of the great ways of communicating that the organization is continuously improving and making an effort to be the best we can for the region. So great job to you.
Thank you, Director Rodriguez. Any other Comments from directors? Looking to the left, looking to the right, seeing none. All right, so this will come back at our next meeting. Do you feel like you have enough time to address all of the particular questions and comments that came up?
Believe so,
Particularly as it relates to like the budget?
Yes, those are great comments. Thank you again, and we will reach back out if we need clarity.
Okay,
on some of
excellent.
them.
All right, thank you. With that, we will move on now to the general manager's report.
So good evening, Madam Chair, Board, and the public. I really want to thank lots of great feedback today. This is extraordinary. I want to first thank Director Rodriguez for your active writing with us and giving us feedback all the time, and lots of great suggestions, corrective recommendations. Appreciate that. Secondly, I really want to thank the great partnership between McClatchy High School and SACRT, and Wendy and your team has been working with us very actively in the last several months about right-free SACRT and also about our scheduled Blue Line station closure nearby the high school. Our engineering team has worked very hard with the outside vendors to say when would be the best time to close our stations and to modernize that. Because my Laura and her engineering director, we discuss this all the time. The engineer director, every time he mentioned to me, well, Henry, in all the system, when they try to do this type of system-wide upgrade, they closed the whole line for half a year, whatever. But in the past year and a half, we focus on two days on the weekend to do one by one to minimize the potential disruption. For the Blue Line, we got a little bit, challenge because the Blue Line, we're doing the 3-car train. The Gold Line, we did 2-car train. So the station will be, not that wide. But right now, that's part of the reason why we had to close, 4 days or 2 weeks down the road. And a couple things we are going to do. First, we're going to enhance our communication. Second, we're going to make sure we have more robust bus bridges. And then, we're going to hire more operators, as some of our audience, recommend us. But that speaks to another issue, which is our direct, Dickinson said we needed to focus on our physical cliff issue down the road. That is probably the most important issue. And as Director Roger Dickinson said, Bay Area already are facing the physical cliff issue right now. They got $595 million long this year from the governor's office to address the physical cliff issue. So I just want to put this topic here. In the next couple of years, we're going to talk about this issue again and again and again. So everybody will have to think about this, frequency, coverage, all those issues. So that's second. I want to thank our partners in the high school and many other communities. Margin, just left. She is a wonderful partner. Sometimes she was very emotionally criticize us, which, those criticism or kind of like constructive. And today, I really want to thank her for very inspirational and emotional, comment about our paratransit drivers. Even though she's not here, I just want to spare that out. Another thing is the third, or this is the fourth thing I want to clarify, or not clarify, I want to thank the constant feedback about our ambassador program. If you recall, last year, there was a huge criticism about our ambassadors on the train were not actively checking fare. So later last year and early this year, Lisa and her team start to have more strict fare enforcement. And now we heard from different sources, how we can find the optimal balance between checking fare and consider some special circumstances and better customer services. A month ago, I was very clear, working with Lisa and give the ambassador, team, the leadership team, our number one goal still serve our customers, provide customer service. Secondly, we still need to check fare. But when you check fare, if the reason is because of the new customer, they want to check on our system, and if they are not familiar with the process, give them some exception the first time, but not, or maybe second time, not the third time. Secondly, sometimes our vending machines, whatever, may not work, and then they may not be able to purchase the fare, and we're going to give them a little bit flexibility too on that. So we're looking for the optimal balance. The fifth comment about earlier our 2.4 about our capital budget adjustment. Later 2024, we received a huge amount of the grant from the FTA, from the US DOT FTA, about $77 million for our bus program. We were the third largest grant at that time. And 2025, we got a larger grant from the bus and the bus facility program. These programs, these two programs are extremely competitive. Every year, less than 1% of the applicants get those funding. In 2024, we got $77 million, the third largest grant. And the second year, we got $36 million, also is very large, because normally average grant is about less than $10 million. Unfortunately, in 2026, once we get that $77 million, we got very clear message from the US DOT. Because that $77 million were for the hydrogen buses, electric buses. And the 25, and then the new administrations very clearly direct us, you either change to non-EV or you will lose the money. At that time, lots of partners in this region asked us to continue to work with US DOT to maintain this money, but still maintain hydrogen. So then we still try to work with our partners in the federal government. And in the meantime, lots of transit agencies immediately lost those funding. And because of our great partnership with FTA, they said, you guys don't have much time. You either try to request us to change from hydrogen to non-EV buses, or you'll lose this money. And based on our local funding, we're very, compared to others, we are the lowest local, we receive the lowest local sales tax revenue. So we have to keep that money. So eventually we ask, FTA partner to change to the, non-EV. They said, you guys are too late to submit this. But I said, we try to work with our local partners because our state gave us $50 million matching fund for that $77 million. So eventually we told our local partners, telling them that we are going to keep the state money for continue to pursue the hydrogen and the EV. But the federal money, we have no other choice. We cannot risk to lose that money. That means more than 80 new CNG buses. So that's why we did this. But we're going to continue to work with our state funding partners to continue our hydrogen initiative. So that is the plan. I talked to some board members, talked to our chair, vice chair on these issues. That is why, thanks to FTA, eventually a month ago, they said, okay, we agree to let you guys change the vehicles from hydrogen to EV. So that's something, that's why, I just want to, a little bit of background information. I needed to make sure, share this, information with everybody about our citizen initiative and for the transparency perspective. So on July 24th, the citizen initiative team reported some very disappointing news. The county election supervisor determined that our transit measure, Sacramento Safe Streets and Affordable Transit Measure of 2026 did not have enough valid signatures to qualify for the November 2026 ballot. The campaign delivered over 32,000 signatures to the city clerk on June 30th. And then when we submit, not we, the initiative team, submit to county, eventually said, no, you guys do not have enough valid signatures. And I just want to really thank lots of community leaders who spend enormous of time, effort, and money on this issue, on this maybe the most important initiative for us, and important issue for the city of Sacramento too. Our board chair, Director Katie Maple, Director Roger Dickinson, and many others spend enormous of time. And I want to thank you, and also other community partners. And we are brainstorming what the future path will look like. That's all I would like to say. And then we do get a little bit good news, a positive note. On July 6th, Governor Newsom signed Assembly Bill 1625 into law for SACRT. This law increases compensation for our board members from $100 per meeting to $200, which has not been raised for over 25 years. Since that time, our operation has significantly grown and become more complex by adding more annexed transit services into our system, including the cities of Folsom, Elk Grove, Central Heights, and other services. However, AB 1625 reduced the total number of meetings per month a board member can be compensated from 4 in the past to 3 right now, or starting from January 1st, 2027. I'm very grateful to our state representatives for their strong support for SACRT. Okay. The next one. I'm very grateful to Siemens Mobility leadership for the invitation for me to speak to a diverse group of over 65 Siemens Mobility business executives from across the North America, some from Germany too, last Friday. They gave us like 12 hours notice asking me to speak. It's a keynote speak for those big executives. And I had to work overnight to do something. And they're very interested in SACRT's historical transformation. They gave me like 40 minutes to speak. And they're also very interested in my personal leadership journey, career. And this underscores how central and critical public transportation is to a thriving community economies and connected communities worldwide, where Germany and others, and we are all connected together internationally. Also, the invitation itself speaks to how much interest the Siemens Mobility, which is a huge global company right now, and how much the interest they have in Sacramento's growth, our regional mobility future, and the role SACRT plays in shaping that trajectory internationally. They spent about $200 million last couple of years to build a huge factory in East Coast. That really alerted our some leaders here, especially Barry Brumer, who is an extraordinary leader, and he organized a delegation to Germany last December to try to convince the headquarter leaders in Siemens to make sure Siemens North American headquarters will continue to stay here, which was very successful. The group was eager to gain more insight into how a best-in-class public transit agency like SACRT operates, what leadership looks like in our sector, how wonderful our board of directors leads the region, leads this business here, how business and community partnership help us deliver essential service, and what it takes to move a complex organization forward, and about our innovative projects that improve the customer experience. My theme of my keynote speech was a world-class partnership between a public transit agency and a private partner, business partner. Okay, one more thing, I'm done. So look ahead, we have not one, but 2 new light rail stations getting ready to open this later summer. This is after 15 years, we did not open any new station. Now we got 2 new stations open, and which will bring our light rail station count from 53 to 55. I mean, this is just part of our entire $1 billion light rail modernization and expansion project. 2 new stations, and the first is Dose Rail Station, which is expected to open in late August, which will serve residents living in Mauricio Village, as well as the surrounding businesses and communities. And next, the highly anticipated 7th Street and Rail Yards light rail station built by our private partner, not by us, is expected to open this fall in parallel to the reopening of the Green Line. The new station will serve the future Rail Yards MLS Stadium, which has 20,000 seats. And look at this soccer, World Soccer, game brings how much excitement to this whole nation. This will also serve the AJ Apartments, which is located directly across from the new station. These collaborative projects demonstrate how transit investment makes regional growth possible. Director Budge, we're going to make sure, the station within Rancho Cordova will happen. We got half of the money. We're looking for the next half of the money. We will make that happen again. This concludes my update. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that report. Any director questions here for the general manager? Looking to the right, seeing none, left, seeing none. Public comment on 6.1.
We have Robert Copeland.
I hope the Kids Right Free program lasts until way into the future.
You give us money.
Also, I think RT should go for every grant it can to modernize the light rail stations, the bus system as a whole. And as far as the Sacramento Safer Streets, you need way over the count you need because you can get a lot of invalid signatures. I've done ballot measures in the past. One was from Sacramento. A lot of people don't even know if they're in the city or county. Or even if they're in the right county. Because I had a signature on one statewide petition. They thought they was in Sacramento. They was in West Sacramento. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment.
Okay, we have a card from Helen, but I think she left, so we're going to go on the line to Rick Hodgkins.
Okay. So while I'm very happy that while I'm very happy about the progress we made, I must talk about some harsh realities. I have a gut feeling that the reason why we did not gather enough signatures for this year's November ballot is because a lot of people just are not interested in something that they don't use. A lot of people in California love their cars, so much so that people will use them as weapons to run over people like me trying to cross the street. But I will tell you this, if we're going to advertise on our buses, I agree with the previous speaker. It should be, RT should advertise itself on the buses, having campaign to fund RT. So that's all I'm going to say there. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Any more public comments online?
There's no more public comment.
All right. Director, comments on the general manager's report?
I have some comment and feedback that's not on his report. So I want to share that I did notice July 1st there was an increase in ridership from when the state workers went back to work, and so it was good to see some of these trains full in the mornings and in the afternoons. And then I want to share that several weeks ago, the Gold Line to historic Folsom was stopping at Sunrise. And at first, it happened several days, and I thought, oh, maybe there's like a staffing issue. And then I asked the conductor, is this going to continue, or at what point, is it going to go fully to historic Folsom? And he told me that when the when the temperatures get too hot, the crossings malfunction in Folsom. And so that just left me with some questions about is there a future plan to correct that, if that is actually the case. But also, I went to the R2 website. I didn't find information on it, but last week it was better. It went all the way straight to Historic Folsom, so maybe some communication about it. And then I also want to share that at when we ended up in Sunrise, there was a little confusion about buses going back to Sacramento, going westbound. And there was an elderly couple that I crossed the street waiting for my ride. And there was an elderly couple who didn't quite understand what was happening. And so they said, well, we'll figure it out when we get back. So they walked ahead, and then there was a bus that was coming, and I stopped them. And I said, oh, there's a couple that doesn't quite understand what the plan is to head back to Sacramento. I want to compliment Sean Caesar. He was a bus driver, and I did get his name before he took off. But he did go ahead. He stopped his bus. He looked for the elderly couple. He explained to them whatever questions they had. And so I just want to commend him, because Sean Caesar didn't have to do that, but it really showed his excellent customer service, and for this couple who was elderly and there was confusion about it. And then last, I have a wish list, and I know that it's probably related to liability and probably scheduling, but sometimes you get to the light rail and the door had maybe just closed, and then the bus takes off. But the driver might see that you're at the door, and instead of now waiting for the next train, they close the door and they take off. And so if I had a wish list, it would be let people on the bus while they're there so that they can, get to their destination quicker.
We would definitely address that issue. That is not, acceptable. Sorry about that. And there was 1 week in Folsom, there were 2 unexpected interruptions. For whatever reason, so that week the bus bridge was not, robust enough. Yeah. And then the second week we'll address that.
Thank you. Yeah, I looked for communication to see what was happening. I didn't find anything, but it was fine the week after. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other director comments on the general manager's report?
I just wanted to add one thing about Rosario's comments here about the coordination between the lights and the signals. There have been ongoing problems with that for a long time. And when you talked about going to every 15-minute service, there was also a plan to coordinate better with the city of Folsom and an upgraded system to make sure that those things were coordinated. I'm still waiting to see that happen. I've talked to our staff recently in our transportation division, and they have applied for some funding, but more work definitely needs to be done in that area, because people are also experiencing getting stuck behind the gates when there's some malfunction there. I'm constantly trying to get information back to residents who are sending me complaints about those or posting them all over Facebook. So maybe if you wouldn't mind looking into that and getting some more information back to us, that would be great. About better coordination on these systems working together.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Director Cerna.
Thank you, Chair. I'll take most of the response to my reminder / question offline, Henry, but just want to let you know and your staff know I remain very interested in the bus shelter that I brought to your attention probably 2.5 months ago. This would be on the south side of Del Paso Road, just about, I'd say, 300 feet east of the El Centro intersection, where on my long walks in my neighborhood, I've noticed the hotel workers that tend to gather that rely on the number 13. So I see that it still remains a simple sign, and if they're lucky during any given time of the day, they might get some shade, but usually not. So that's something I think is still desperately needed in that part of our system.
That definitely is in the schedule to implement. Do you have the latest update about when we're going to? Okay, definitely we will make that happen. It's just.
Yeah, I know you have to negotiate with the adjacent property owners and, you know, there's all kinds of ADA boxes that need to be checked and that type of thing. But just a friendly reminder that I continue to see our patrons that are waiting somewhat uncomfortably, especially in the summer months in that part of our system.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cerna. Seeing no other director comments, we'll move on to the next items. For the next item, reports, ideas, and questions from directors and communication, items 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3. All three items will be read, and then public comment will be taken up as one unit, and individuals wishing to comment will be able to speak for up to 2 minutes. We'll start with item 7.1. Capital Corridor Joint Powers Authority meeting summary. Anything to add other than what's already in the record? Yes, Director.
Thanks, Chair. I wanted to add a couple of things very quickly. In the meeting itself, the board took an action to, I hate to use the word expedite because it's been about 15 or 17 years since we started in this effort to get a third mainline track to Roseville, but to actually advance the environmental review for it. So that it really is crucial to the ability of the Capital Corridor to increase the number of trips to Roseville and up into Placer County, which is going to be increasingly important for us from a general mobility standpoint in the region. The second thing I wanted to just make all of my colleagues and the public aware of is the Capital Corridor is in the midst of developing a new vision plan, and I am serving on the subcommittee working on that. But it actually is looking at what kind of both capital and operational improvements can be made for the Capital Corridor that would build the ridership, which is getting closer, I'd say, to pre-pandemic days, but hasn't quite recovered entirely. But if you could imagine something like a express train or express service from Sacramento to say Emeryville with just a couple stops instead of the approximately 7 or 8 stops currently made, and it functions well. I have ridden the service as recently as this weekend, and it was on time and comfortable and all kinds of good things. But it can be a lot faster, and if we could get express service from here to the Bay Area, and that I think would be a real booster for ridership. So those are the kinds of things that are getting looked at. If you use the Capital Corridor at all and you have ideas about what you would like to see happen, without a price tag necessarily, let me know, and I'll be happy to convey those as part of the effort to update the vision plan. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Dickinson. Director Maple, do you want to add anything? Or? Okay, excellent. Item 7.2.
The
There are minutes
mobility.
in there, so we'll have an opportunity to ask questions if needed. 7.3, the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority and special meeting summary.
Nothing.
Nothing more to add.
Nothing to add. The meatiest part of the discussion happened during closed session, so I can't discuss it.
Okay, excellent. Any director questions on 7.1, 7.2, or 7.3? Seeing none, any public comments on 7.1, 7.2, or 7.3?
We just have Rick Hodgkins online.
Okay. I feel as though he said.
I unmuted myself and then I was muted again. So real quick on the Capital Corridor Joint Powers Authority, I cannot guarantee that this won't have a price tag, but I don't know what to say about it, but I take the bus to and from South Lake Tahoe from Amtrak. I used to enjoy going up to Tahoe because Mom lives up there, but I don't really go up there to see her. If anything, I go up there to get away from here and have fun up there. And it used to be enjoyable going to and from Tahoe because we used to have multiple buses a day, and now we're just down to one bus. So that bus leaves Amtrak at 10 o'clock in the morning, and if you miss that bus, you have to wait till the next day. There should be maybe three, but I know that there's multiple trains a day, which is fine and dandy, but we also need buses to match. If people come in during the afternoon or evening and they want to transfer to a bus to Tahoe, they should be able to have that done on the same day. And second, I am very honored, privileged, and proud to be the newest member of the Mobility Advisory Council. My first meeting was somewhat stressful because we rushed through too many items. I didn't have enough time to process it, just like I didn't have enough time to process the complaint brought about a SAC-RT Go passenger by his or her caregiver. I'm curious to know what that complaint originated about, and that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more online?
There's no more public comment.
Any follow-up director comments on 7.1, 7.2, or 7.3? Seeing none? All right. The next Sacramento Regional Transit Board meeting is scheduled for August the 24th, 2026 at 4 p.m. With that, we will adjourn. Thank you.